Welcome back. This is part 2 of Living with ME, self-management. So we begin by asking ourselves, are we listening to our bodies? We need to stop ignoring what our bodies are so desperately trying to tell us. Listening to our bodies may be hard to begin with, but once you have contracted ME, active listening is the key to improvement. You cannot change what you are not aware of. Many of us have tried to ignore what was happening, even after diagnosis. The ingrained messages to work hard and be productive, keep your home clean and make money, drive us to keep pushing through the pain and/or fatigue long after we should. Listening and responding to our body's cry for help is the first step in creating change. Keep in mind that active listening, like any other skill, is a learning process that when practiced, we only get better at over time. So continue to practice. Making notes sometimes will help, daily notes or setting up a graph or a chart of some kind. Doing a diary, all of these things can be helpful. So let's talk about all the different techniques that patients have been using. After learning to listen to their bodies, patients found that these were the areas of awareness that really helped. We will go through each in more detail. Please keep in mind as we go through these areas of self-management that what you do must be tailored to your own individual health status and personality. Patients with ME have a wide variety of energy and health concerns, and each of us must discover for ourselves what works best for us. Many others may help us along the way, but we are the ones that have most of the answers, and we have to find them ourselves. So the first one on the list is managing energy. If you compare the energy in the body of an ME patient to the energy in a regular battery, our batteries are malfunctioning. They don't fully charge, nor do they charge effectively. They deplete faster and more easily. They also take much longer to recharge. It takes energy, of course, to run every system in our body, including our brain function. So low energy means no body system can run optimally or even effectively. This includes our ability to think, manage emotions, handle stress, recall information, speak, etc. It also takes a lot of energy to run our bodies. So when our energy is low, the body struggles to function physically, mentally, and emotionally. The more we manage our energy levels, the better we will feel. A symptom of this energy malfunction is post-exertional malaise. This is the body's delayed response to physical exertion, stress, food intake, sleep disturbances, etc. Not only are our responses often delayed, but they also get piled one on top of the other. So a stressful day 2 days ago, along with the upset of a small situation yesterday and a short walk last night, may lead to a total crash today, when all I did today was get out of bed. Pacing is the most important self-management tool we can utilize in order to help us with post-exertional malaise. It is how we manage our energy, and pacing is a very complex subject, too big a subject for us to do justice here in this video. We encourage you to check your resource handbook on the same page as this video for some excellent sources of information on pacing, including the Post-Exertional Malaise Avoidance Toolkit, and CFIDS Self-Help Course. Here are a few tips for now. What you need to do to pace your energy will change as your illness changes. There was a time when I was so ill I could not drive my car. As I was able to improve my health by learning to pace my activities, I was slowly able to start driving again. However, I make sure that I only drive when my energy level is at its best, and I am able to focus on what I am doing. And I don't drive far or do too much. And if I am doing an errand like grocery shopping, I will intermittently rest during the shopping trip, as well as sit and make sure I am totally focused and capable of driving home. Listen to the cues from your body. Trust your body. It is smart and knows what it needs. And once you get communication going on well with it, you can trust what it has to tell you. In the past, you may have been able to use mind over matter strategies or push through fatigue to get things done. This is very counterproductive in ME and will likely lead to a crash. Let your body be your guide, not the clock, your to-do list, or people in your life, or most importantly, your desire to do more than your body can handle. Continuous pacing is done by changing positions or activities every 15 to 30 minutes, depending on your state of health. This can allow your body to change energy requirements, which helps to maintain a low heart rate. Lie down when you get the signal that your body needs rest, or better yet, lie down before this happens. This will become easier as you learn the schedule that best suits what your body needs. When you lie down, be quiet and focus on slowing your breath until you feel the shift in your physiology that tells you it's safe to get up. Your heart rate, you'll feel your heart rate slow, your breathing will become slower, and you'll feel kind of more of a sense of peace. When you first lie down, quite often you feel your heart racing and you feel kind of panicky a bit or anxious. Once that slows down, you'll know that it's time to get up. Whatever you are choosing to do, start low and go slow.
Everyone with ME has unrefreshing sleep. With healthy people, the more they exert themselves, the better they rest. Not so with ME. We have the opposite due to increased adrenaline release. So we're wired but tired. Decreasing adrenaline and the fight, flight, freeze response improves sleep. Tips for improving sleep include things like managing stress, diet, pacing, moving around or walking if that's appropriate for you, controlled breathing exercises, and for some, music or essential oils can be helpful. For me, I find a dark room and an eye mask, earplugs, a white noise machine is helpful. I need to have the temperature needs to be perfect for me, a comfortable bed. But for someone else, those things may not work for them at all. It may be the complete opposite. So we're all different. We need to find what works for us and use those strategies. Sleep drugs can be helpful and necessary for some. However, sleep drugs do have side effects. Some people experience a hangover effect the next day with an increased risk of falls or accidents. And there's some evidence that sleep drugs may cause dementia with long-term use. Not sleeping can also have serious side effects, so please make the choice that's right for you in consultation with your doctor. We will be discussing medication and supplements later in the presentation, but just be aware that you may respond differently to either a brand name or a generic version of the same medication. A sleep study may provide some helpful information for you and your doctor. And also in our resource list, we have a section on sleep, self-management, and stress management that may be helpful. Our next slide is about diet. And it's important to realize that there is no one diet or supplement that works for all or even the majority of people. We are all so different. However, diet can make a big difference. It's all about trial and error. It's about becoming a detective. Generally, a higher protein, lower carbohydrate diet is recommended. For instance, a zone, paleo, or glycemic index diet. They're all examples of that type of eating regime. If a diet works, stick with it. If it doesn't, go off of it. Some people find that they have certain food reactions which cause bad issues for them. And if they can avoid those foods, they do better. Recording your diet for 10 days is helpful to figure out if you're eating a balanced diet, and charting your diet may give you clues about whether you're having food reactions, especially if the reactions are delayed. We don't have time to go into how to do a rotation diet in this presentation, so I'm just going to refer you to Google rotation diet and work with that. I generally find some of them suggest a 4-day rotation. I would recommend a 10-day rotation where you're only eating a certain food, once every 10 days, gives you more time to see how that food is affecting you. And you can then figure out, hey, I ate this on Tuesday. I don't feel well Tuesday, or maybe I don't feel well Wednesday, or maybe I don't feel well Thursday. Then you can look back and see, what did I eat? Maybe I'm having a reaction to that food. I'll try it again and see what happens. Some of us experience low blood sugar as a result of our autonomic nervous system and endocrine dysregulation. So for people like us, we need to eat smaller meals, more frequent meals, and it can be helpful to be prepared. That's my motto, is always be prepared. So I take food with me when I go out. I always have food with me. I have food prepared at home in the freezer in case I'm tired or fatigued. I can just go to the freezer and pull out whatever's ready and available, and I don't have to worry about it, especially if I'm crashing. And we realize there are numerous diets to choose from and experiment with, and it can become overwhelming. Some of the information out there is conflicting. One will say eating this way, these types of food are healthy and good for you, and another will say the opposite. And I know I became almost traumatized. I was so overwhelmed by all the conflicting information, and finally just had to stop and listen to my own body, figure out what works for me, ignore the rest, still do research and experiment, but find what's working for you and stick with that. It really is a journey, so please be compassionate and patient with yourself as you discover what works for you. Also, consult with your doctor or dietitian and see our resource list for nutritional tool websites. Pain. The most common pain in ME is a generalized muscle aching of fibromyalgia. Also headaches, abdominal or pelvic pain. About 60% of people with ME have fibromyalgia and vice versa. Medications can help in the short term, but the long-term effectiveness of pain medication is poor. But if you're in a situation where you need pain medications, we don't want you to feel guilty about that. However, we do want you to be aware of other strategies and options you may choose to work with. Our best management is learning skills, attitudes, and lifestyle that enhance a feeling of safety and joy. These last forever and are based on brain rewiring, or what we call neuroplasticity. We have some excellent resources to explore in our resource list under the headings for pain and neuroplasticity. And there's some recent work that people are doing with neuroplasticity that we're finding effective with some people. So if it's something you're drawn to, please explore that. Self-management, like improving sleep, changing activity patterns, managing stress, all help with the pain of ME. And charting may help you discover what's causing your pain to flare or dissipate. When we chart our activities, our diet, our sleep patterns, pain and energy fluctuations, we're more able to see the correlation between symptoms and what's been happening in our lives, especially if we're experiencing delayed reactions. Because we're unable to get into the topic of charting here, it's just too big for us to do. I'm just going to suggest you look online for resources, and also in our resource list, we have a sample of a charting at the back of the resource list. Courses to introduce the basics of pain management are also available online. And most importantly, finding your own routine that decreases your pain level is important. Stop doing the things that cause you pain and continue doing the things that don't. For me personally, I find heat is helpful, yoga, balancing my rest and my activity, reducing food reactions, managing my sleep and stress. They all help to either eliminate or reduce my pain. And then once all of those sort of things are taken care of, then I go and I work with the neuroplasticity techniques that we mentioned.
All right, medications and supplements. This was something that many patients talk to us about. And we want to start off by mentioning that natural does not necessarily equal safe. Arsenic and hemlock are natural and deadly. So people with ME are often sensitive to chemicals and supplements, and drugs are chemicals. Many of us are not helped by medications or supplements that help others, and our response is often different from what is intended by the medications or supplements. Start with a lick or a crumble to see how you react. Even holding it and smelling it can be helpful. Ask your body if the medication or supplement feels right. I know that sounds really kind of weird to say, but honestly, you really can get some sense of what's good for your body and what isn't. Sometimes brand names are okay, but generics are not, or vice versa. Be willing to test and pay attention to how your body responds. And know that you aren't alone if you have unusual reactions to medications. Having said this, as Karen mentioned in the pain section, if medications help, take them. We are all different, and you have to figure out for you what works for your body and what doesn't. Also, be aware of big claims. There are lots of people out there who say they have the answer, this works, that works. And for them, maybe it did, but it doesn't necessarily mean it will for you. You're suffering and vulnerable. Don't spend money you can't afford to lose. And lastly, always tell your medical provider everything you are using so they can help you make good choices. Autonomic nervous system regulation. ANS is autonomic nervous system, and it monitors and controls many of our body symptoms. Some believe that in ME, the limbic system and the autonomic nervous system become stuck in a state of overvigilance. And among other things, this can lead to feeling chronically stressed and a sense of threat beyond what is appropriate for the situation. And man, I can sure relate to that. Stress can trigger or worsen symptoms in some patients. Know that this is not your fault. It's not your fault at all, and there's very little you can do to control it. What happens is biological changes in the body enhance psychological reactions of fear or worry, which in turn increase the biological responses. So in essence, it becomes a self-feeding circle, starting with biology, psychology, biology, psychology. Not only do some of us have a more hypervigilant nervous system, but being ill itself can be very stressful. And again, you can't control your autonomic nervous system, but you can influence how it functions. Calming the sympathetic nervous system and getting into the rest and digest parasympathetic mode can have a profound effect on healing and function. Doing deep relaxation sessions can calm the nervous system, and that takes us out of the fight and flight mode, as well as giving the body the opportunity to rest, recover, and regenerate. Deep relaxation is different than sleep and allows the body to release stored tension. Deep relaxation sessions can be used throughout the day as a pacing mechanism. And some people choose to use different types of calming practice or meditation method. We're all different and will be drawn to different modalities such as mindfulness, yoga, Tai Chi. There are many guided meditations and other resources online. YouTube is a rich source of videos of babies laughing, animals playing, comedies, whatever it is that speaks to you. These can be very useful in helping your system to regulate. The most important thing is to find what works for you and to actually use it. And this is a direct quote from Dr. Ellie Stein. Research on mindfulness meditation proves that we can change our brains for the better through repeated mental activity. Meditation activities that meditation activates the executive centers in insula and calms the limbic brain and the autonomic nervous system. No drug can create and maintain the brain changes that mindfulness can. So seek out people, activities, and places that make you feel good about yourself. Stay in the moment. This was a big one for me, but it's really made a difference in my life, and that is to learn to say no. Make yourself and your health your top priority and say no to things that will compromise your health. Sometimes this means saying no to others, and sometimes it means saying no to yourself when your desire to do something exceeds your capacity. Again, I'll put my hand up for that. Some people report decreases in symptoms and increased daily function through other neural retraining practices. And again, this is beyond the scope of what we're going to cover in this session. And again, that handy resource list we keep talking to you about will give you lots of information or point you in some directions of where you can look for neural retraining. So this brings us to the end of the self-management segment of Living with ME. And in part 3, we are going to share messages of hope.